Shall we go on to the translations? Any specific questions on the translation part? Let me pull that up here. Number 4.
I find one of the things that I notice in my translations, I'll have it translated right, and then they'll take a section of words and put it before something, and I'm never really sure why. So in this case, I put Jesus spoke in parables to the crowds, and the correct response was Jesus spoke to the crowds in parables.
Both of those are perfectly fine.
Okay.
Both of those are great. In English, when we have an indirect object like this, we tend to keep it closer to the verb. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with either way that you've translated that. As long as you've got the function of tois achlois correct, dative, marking the recipient of speech here, you're good. You're good. Let me let's just park on this for just a moment. So what case is ha Jesus? Okay, good. So nominative case. What case is parabolais? Dative. You see that iota sigma? What case is tois achlois? Dative. Same, dative plural, right? Here's the question. Why is ha Jesus nominative? It's the subject. Good. So even though it comes after the verb, I'm going to translate it first, right? Jesus spoke. Why is parabolais in the dative case? Because of the preposition en. So when I ask you questions like this, why is this noun in the dative case? The answer is not the iota sigma. Okay? That is the answer to the question, how do you know it's in the dative case? But why did the writer choose the dative case? The writer chose the dative case because the preposition en requires its object to be in the dative case. Okay? Now, why is tois achlois in the dative case? So I'm going to draw a little arrow here. Parabolais must be dative because of en. What about this one? Okay, it's because it's the indirect object. It looks like it might be dative because en is hanging out over here, right? That has absolutely nothing to do with it. The only noun that is affected by en's requirement for the dative case is the word parabolais. That is the object of the preposition. The indirect object is not the object of the preposition, is it? It's actually more closely related to the verb, indicating who that speech was directed to. Okay, so you got to be careful with this. Don't mix these things up and think that tois achlois is dative because en requires that, because it doesn't. It's not the object of en. You see? All right, so Jesus spoke in parables to whom? To the crowds. Sure, let's walk through number 5. Let's read number 5 together out loud in unison. Ready? Kai ebaptidzanta hupautu en to Iordane. All right. So, how did you translate this first part? Yes. He gave you that, right? If you had said it without the kai, I would have dinged you. Okay, so, and they were baptized. Hupautu. What preposition is this? Lexical form. Hupa. Very good. And how many cases can hupa take for its object? 2. Genitive or accusative. Which one have we got here? Yeah, look at L2. That's genitive, right? So when it's followed by genitive, what does it mean? By, is this a passive verb? They were being baptized. The subject is undergoing the action. Someone's doing the action to the subject. And the hupa plus its object is telling you who the agent is. By whom? Who's doing the baptizing then? They were being baptized by him. Autos is he, she, or it. I've got an upsilon, tells you that's genitive, singular. And I know it's not feminine because of that stem vowel, right? So this is either masculine or neuter. I don't have any context here. So, because I've just got this isolated sentence. But in the context, we would know who that person is within the prior clause or two clauses, and it would make it clear that it's not a neuter entity but a masculine one. All right. Yes.
So if you were chosen to be a translator for a version of the NIV or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
you're coming to this verse, would you want to put John in there, or no? Is it just put?
Well, yeah, I can't remember what the clause right before it would have been. So if John were the last word right before kai ebaptizanta, I don't think I'd need to, because the reader would be clearer, right? We have a they, so I'm not going to confuse the they with the he here, right?
Sometimes it's important as a translator to put the name in, just as helpful.
Yes, because there are times when you just have two individuals and the narrator is talking about one or the other, and it can get confusing as to who the referent is of the pronoun, and you might want to specify or clarify that. Yeah. So, a lot of times it's clear because you have these conversational turns. So like we've been doing Ruth in one of my Hebrew reading classes, and it will be things like she said this and she said that, and Ruth and Naomi are going back and forth. But the first instance might say something like Naomi said this and she said that and she said this and she said that. So I go Naomi, Ruth, even though the overt, subject isn't always used.
Are there a lot of people who say it's more faithful to the text not to do that?
Yeah, I suppose people would say that. Right. Those sorts of things aren't really. You're just clarifying what's implicit, right, in those situations. It's when people start monkeying with the text meanings for other reasons that I think you end up raising hackles with folk. Yeah. Okay. Now we have ento iordane right here. Why is this, if you look very carefully, why is that in the dative case? Because that's right. We have the preposition en. So I have how many prepositional phrases here? This one and this one. So remember to keep your prepositional phrases, the elements of it, together. So they were being baptized by him, tells you who's doing it, and then where? In the Jordan. All right? Now, I forget who asked this question, but does that help? Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So you had under him.
I have under the Jordan.
Oh, under the Jordan.
Yeah, I was looking at it and like, come on.
Well, I thought under him. I was like, well, maybe that's like a term for like under his authority.
Yes. Oh, got you. Yeah. Because of the genitive, it's by him. Okay. And as a good Baptist, under the Jordan would be perfectly fine for a baptism. But that's not here either, is it? It's in the Jordan. So it's ambiguous.
In the Jordan.
All right. Good deal. Other questions?
6 it says the Son of Man. He translated his answer was the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
Where's even?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was just looking at 6.
On the Sabbath.
Well, on the Sabbath. Okay, let's take a look at that. We'll read it real quickly. Ready? Kurias sestin hahuias tu anthropu kai tu sabatu. All right. Let's start with this. Remember, one of the questions had to do with the accent on forms of amy, surrendering that accent to the prior word. That's That's the enclitic issue. So notice that kurios would normally just have the accent here on the upsilon, right? Kurios. Notice a secondary accent has been placed here, which really should have belonged to estin. Okay? So kurios sistin, hahuias tu anthropu kai tu sabatu. What's kurios? Lord. What case is it? Nominative. Now, is estin a linking verb that can take nominatives and subject nominatives and predicate nominatives? It can. So we got to think a little bit about this, because I've got lots of nominative forms here. I have hahuias as well as kurios. So one of these is the subject, one's the predicate nominative. Is this a Lord is the Son of Man? Is kurios the subject? And is this the predicate nominative? A Lord is the Son of Man. No, it's rather the Son of Man is Lord. Okay? Now, one of the things that you're going to be looking for when you can is when you have two nominative forms and one has to be the subject and one the predicate. If one of the forms is articular and one's not, you're going to be thinking that the articular form is the subject. Okay? So the Son is the Lord. Now, here's where things get muddied up. I have two anthropu. Is this, what case is that? Okay, this has got an upsilon. This is genitive, singular, and what gender? Masculine, okay? So it's genitive. Why is it genitive? Is it genitive because some preposition requires the genitive case here? No. It's genitive because, yes, it's in a genitive relationship with a head noun. Head noun's huios, and this is qualifying huios, right? So here, I'm going to draw a little arrow here to indicate that. So it's whose son? The Son of Man. Or maybe this is not possession, but rather it could be giving an attribute or something like that. Now, where this gets confusing is then now I have kai and I have another genitive noun, don't I? Well, what kinds of things does kai join? Kai can join any two things that are grammatically like each other, can't it? Is anthropu a noun? Yes, it's a noun. Is tu sabatu a noun? Yes. So it sure looks like it's saying the Son of Man and the Sabbath, right? Of man and of the Sabbath. And if I wanted to say that, guess what? This is exactly how it would look. You are the Son of Man and the Sabbath. You are the Son of Man and you are the Son of the Sabbath. But that's not actually what's going on here. Okay? And this is why this is tricky. Kai, when it joins two like things, you translate it as and. And we talked about this last week. Jack and Jill, right? A big and ugly man, and so forth. This kai, though, is not, in this particular instance, to be translated as and, but rather even. Because tu sabatu is not actually being conjoined to tu anthropu as a compound. Rather, it goes all the way back and is in a genitive relationship with kurios. It's the Son of Man hangs together and Lord of the Sabbath hangs together. Okay? So the kai doesn't mean and here. It rather has more of an adverbial function than a conjunctive or a conjunction function. Sorry. Okay? So the Son of Man, that whole thing functions as the subject, is, and then the Lord of the Sabbath, or Lord of the Sabbath, also or even. Remember, Jesus is making an argument here about his identity. All right. So that's a tricky one. Anything else? Yeah, they're all tricky, huh? Yeah. Okay. He said. Well, we don't have the verb for he said here, do we? Apen. Apen. And this is exalthen, which he translates for you. So it's just he, she, or it came out. Ex means from. This is a form of ek. And then autu is him. Now, without any context, you don't know which of these subject pronouns is the appropriate one. But if you know the stories, what are you suggesting or supposing? Yeah, this is referring to a demon. So it came out of him. All right. I can't remember what his footnote here says. What does he say down here?
Not to repeat the preposition.
Oh, yeah. Ek elthen is to come out. That's right. That's number 2. All right. So, any other questions? Did we have any dependent clauses in here? Well, he made a lot of hay in the chapter about dependent clauses. We didn't give you any exercises with one. Let's see. Do you want to go through number 9?
I was asking if there was a dependent clause.
Say I'm looking for hati or henna, and I don't see it. Yeah, he doesn't have one there. I don't think any of these 10 have an actual dependent clause. All right. There are other dependent clauses that we'll learn about, but yeah, I think he's introduced you to both of the words, so I expected him to have a question or a translation exercise with that. Well, when we see them, I'll just kind of map out how I handle those. Anybody have any other questions on this? Yes.
Number 8.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. We'll take a look at it real quickly. Okay, so we have hatheas agape estin. Do you see the form of Amy here? What person and number is that? Third singular. That's right. So I'm looking for a singular subject noun. Do I have one? God is a singular noun. Is it nominative? Yes. Agape, is that singular? Is that nominative? Ah, so I have 2 completely separate nominative nouns. One's articular, one's not. Which one do you suppose is the subject? God. So God is love. Okay? God is love. Kai and hamenon, he translates for you. The one remaining. Ente agape. What's that? The one remaining in love. Ento theo mene. The one remaining in love in God remains. Okay? So here I have my verb. And this prepositional phrase is adverbial, modifies that verb. This prepositional phrase, ente agape, that is adverbial, and it modifies that form, hamenon. So the one remaining in love remains in God. And hatheos en automene, and God remains in him. So that prepositional phrase is modifying that verb. Okay? So one of the problems here is just seeing that all of these en prepositional phrases are each modifying a form of remaining. But this one goes backwards, this one goes forward, this one goes forward. Okay?
How do you translate that last Greek word there?
Mene?
Yeah.
It's the same as mene up here. So he, she, or it remains. All right. Anything else? These are good exercises. I mean, they're challenging, especially as you're at the beginning of your Greek studies. Anything else? All right. I don't actually require the additional ones, but I encourage you to do them. You will really do yourself a favor if you try to figure those out. It's good practice.